Sixvillisca Axe Murder House, Villisca, Iowa. On the night of June 9, 1912, 8 people, including 6 children, were murdered in this house by an unknown assailant wielding an axe. The murders, not surprisingly, caused a national sensation, and while many suspects were questioned and even tried later acquitted, this mass murder remains unsolved to this day. Either from the violence of their deaths, or their unresolved nature, maybe a little of both, this house has subsequently become a very active site for the supernatural. Apparitions have often been seen, and disembodied footsteps and voices are common occurrences. The sight and sounds of the children are the most widely reported, with eeps and personal accounts indicating laughing and then crying, as well as some children telling others to hide. 7. William Cahoe House, Savannah, Georgia. Formerly the home of William Cahoe and his family, this 1892 house later became a school, a funeral home, and today is operated as a historic inn. The Cahoe family, however, seems to have remained in residence long after their deaths, going about their usual routines while also interacting with guests and staff. Mrs. Cahoe has often been seen sitting at a desk, writing, or sitting on the beds of sleeping guests. Mr. Cahoe has been seen throughout the house as well, and on one occasion opened all of the exterior locked doors on the first floor simultaneously. The young twin boys of the Cahoes, who died in a childhood accident, have also been seen roaming throughout the house, and their noisy footsteps heard as they run across the upper floors. 8. The Piratess House, Savannah, Georgia. Known as the city's oldest house, this structure dates back to 1753 when it was first used as a private residence. Sometime later in the century it became a tavern and inn, which it remained for many decades. Today, the building is used as a restaurant, with the former inn space on the second floor used for storage. During its time as a tavern and inn, it was mostly frequented by mariners and others of a rough sort. It was apparently the site of many shenanigans episodes where privateers would get men drunk or drug them so that they could secret them away through a tunnel onto their ships, pressing their victims into service. Today, many spirits from this time period still frequent the establishment. Apparitions are often seen on the second floor and laughter is heard there as well. The first floor and basement are also very active, with chairs and place settings being rearranged in the dining rooms and people reporting being suddenly overcome by cold and nausea. 9. House of the Seven Gables, Salem, Massachusetts. One of the most well-known historic houses in New England, the House of the Seven Gables was immortalized by Nathaniel Hawthorne's novel of the same name. Built in 1667, the house evolved over the years, featuring additions and later renovations that altered or removed additions, until finally being restored to its original grandeur. The house is now a museum, and staff and visitors often report supernatural occurrences. The electrical and plumbing systems seem to have minds of their own, as lights and faucets turn on and off unaided. Shadows and full apparitions have also been encountered, including a woman believed to be a former owner, and a little boy who plays in the attic. 10. Lizzie Borden House, Fall River, Massachusetts. Undoubtedly Massachusetts' most infamous residence, this house was the site of the notorious axe murders of the parents of Lizzie Borden, who herself was the main suspect in the murders. There was so much evidence against her that she was quickly charged with the crime and sent to court, only to be acquitted. No other person was charged with the murders, making this one of the nation's most well-known unresolved murder cases. Oddly enough, Borden remained in Fall River for the rest of her life, residing in a neighborhood not far from where the murders took place. It is believed that her desire to remain here has held true even in death. Her ghost has often been seen throughout the house and has been heard laughing on the second floor near the stairs. Her father and stepmother have also been seen and heard, along with their former mate who has been heard calling for help. 11. Kenmore Plantation, Fredericksburg, Virginia. This beautiful plantation house and its surrounding buildings were built in 1776 by Fielding Lewis for his wife Betty, who was also the sister of George Washington. Lewis sank a lot of money into the war effort against Britain during the American fight for independence, and apparently his ghost is still concerned over the state of his finances. He has often been seen sitting and going over his papers with a sour look on his face, and he has also been heard pacing the first-floor hall very heavily. Staff have also reported seeing doorknobs turn on their own. 12. Adam Thorogood House, Virginia Beach, Virginia. Dating to about 1720, although previously thought to be much older, this quaint brick cottage was once the home of Adam Thorogood, a successful tobacco farmer and businessman. While it has had a rather uneventful history over the past 3 centuries, activity within the house hasn't been so quiet. 2 apparitions are commonly sighted here, one being a man and the other a woman, both in 18th century attire. The woman has been known to carry candles through the house while the man is simply observed passing from room to room, perhaps looking for something. A large group of visitors even witnessed the sudden movement of inanimate objects. 13. Risa Castle, Port Townsend, Washington State. Inspired by chateau in the French Renaissance style, this beautiful former mansion, now a hotel, was completed in 1892 at the behest of Prussian-born Charles Eisenbeiss. It was originally supposed to be a hotel, but this business venture fell through, so Eisenbeiss turned it into his family's home. It remained empty for a couple of decades after his death and eventually became a Jesuit school, before finally achieving its original purpose as a hotel. While throughout the building there are instances of electrical devices switching on and off, and doors opening and closing on their own, it seems to be the 3rd floor that is the most haunted. Footsteps and voices are often heard on this floor, but room 306 is the most active. A female apparition has been seen and felt quite often here. She especially likes to go through guests' belongings and usually moves things around. She has often heard singing in the bathroom as well. The dining room and former chapel, also a dining area now, are also active, with apparitions of Eisenbeiss' wife Kate often seen, and reports of glasses being knocked over or shattering much talked about. 14. Anne Starrett Mansion, Port Townsend, Washington State. An enduring monument to love, this beautiful Queen Anne Victorian mansion was built in 1899 by George Starrett for his new wife Anne. They lived happily together in the mansion for the rest of their lives, and the house stayed in the family for some time before finally becoming the bed and breakfast it is today. The house exhibits a great deal of paranormal activity, some of which has been attributed to George and Anne, but the majority of activities continuously linked to the nanny they hired to look after their only child, Edward. Both George and Anne have been seen throughout the house, but it is the nanny who has been seen and felt. She is generally pleasant, but can take offense to certain people. She has been known to make pictures fall off of walls, pages of books turn, and to create extreme cold spots. Lights get turned off when they were left on in empty rooms, and has been known to thump guests on the head for offensive remarks. 15. Cedar Grove Mansion, Vicksburg, Mississippi. One of the most striking antebellum mansions in Mississippi, Cedar Grove has, for all of its beauty, seen its fair share of tragedy. Originally the home of John and Elizabeth Klein, it was also the site of some of the family's deaths. One of their sons was killed on the back porch stairs when a gun accidentally went off. He was just 17 years old, and a daughter and 2 young infants died here as well, with their deaths attributed to disease. John Klein enjoyed pipe smoking, and near his study the smell of a pipe is often caught. Elizabeth has frequently been seen throughout the house, acting as if she is simply carrying out her usual day-to-day chores. The apparition of a little girl has also been seen coming down the main stairs, and footsteps on the back porch stairs have also been heard. Apart from activity linked to the family, many guests have reported seeing Civil War soldiers throughout the house and grounds, hardly surprising since the house was also a hospital during the Civil War. 16. Morris Jummel Mansion, New York City, New York. A pre-Revolutionary War landmark, this 1765 house was built by a British military officer and would later feature prominently in the Revolutionary War, with George Washington even using the house as his headquarters at one point. It seems that with all of this past activity, spirits in the house are a little restless themselves. Several different, distinct ghosts have been sighted here over the years, most of which seem to be from the Revolutionary period and the early decades following it. Former owner Liza Jamil has been seen here, and the presence of both of her husbands, one of which was former Vice President Burr, have been reported. Ghosts here have a bit of a history with startling visitors. One visitor fainted upon seeing a Revolutionary War soldier step out of a painting, and another suffered a heart attack upon seeing one of the house's ghosts. 17. Sauer Castle, Kansas City, Kansas. Built in 1871 by Anton Sauer, originally from Austria, this beautiful but now derelict Italianate home was a Sauer residence for several generations, during which time it was the site of many of the family's dramatic tragedies. 2 people have committed suicide in this house, while a third, a little girl, drowned in the pool on the property. The original owner, Antoine, also passed away in this house. With so many deaths, most of which were not peaceful, the house has become a hotbed for the supernatural. Various disembodied voices have been heard, either laughing, shouting, or crying, while doors often open and slam on their own. People have reported feeling watched and that objects have had a tendency to shake or rattle violently on their own.